Let's do courthouse wedding makeup. This was a request. I got married 2 weeks ago, and this is how I would do my own wedding as a bridal and photographer makeup artist if I was going to get married at a courthouse. So we're talking about longevity, and we're talking about it looking good in photographs. You're probably gonna need more makeup than you think if you want it to look really good in photographs. I'm using the House Labs Triclone foundation. I'm using a sample shade right now because this is my shade, and matching our neck, not our face, because you do not want your neck and your face to be different shades when your photographer is taking photos of you. We've already prepped the skin with a milky toner and then a moisturizer. Check out part 1 if you want to see that. I'm going to go in with a foundation brush and buff this into the skin. Notice I'm using tapping motions and not swiping or rubbing. This is going to give me 1, fuller coverage, but 2, no harsh lines or marks within my foundation, and it's going to help the foundation to lay on top of the skin in an airbrush type of way. You want to layer creams over powders. I always go in with my concealer next. This is just my preferred way, but experiment and test out your makeup before your wedding day. That's my biggest tip and advice to you. This is the IT Cosmetics Airbrush Concealer Brush, and I love it. It just blends everything out really nicely, and I recommend a brush so that you don't mess up your eyeshadow. Check out the first part for the eye makeup tutorial. Tapping this in, kind of keeping it concentrated where I want it, and if you'll notice, I avoided my under eye with foundation because I don't want it to cake up, so as minimal product as under the eye as possible. And then I'm brightening up the center of my face, the high points of my face, so center of my forehead, down my nose, and my chin. You can also come here underneath the jawline. I like things to look pretty seamless and flawless, especially on my wedding day, and very airbrushed, or if I'm doing a client's makeup. So I'm not going to streak the concealer down, but I will use like residual that's left over on the brush just to kind of clean that up before I even go in with bronzer. I've talked about it a million times, but the Milani Cheek Kiss bronzer is one of my absolute favorites. This is in the shade Spilling Tea, and it is very beginner friendly. You've got a medium coverage bronzer here, and again, we're going in with all of our creams first, but this just blends really, really, really effortlessly, and you want your makeup to show up in photos. Cameras take away like 20 to 30% of your makeup, so if you're not layering on the makeup, it is not going to look like you have makeup on in those photos. And I'm going to add a little bit to my nose, because here's the thing. If you're adding bronzer to the rest of your face and not your nose, the center of your face is going to be without depth, and you want everything to be cohesive. And I do a little bit right by my top lip and a little bit underneath my bottom lip. I pulled it a little bit too high, so I'm going in with my concealer brush just to kind of airbrush those edges back out. There's a lot of cream blushes that I like right now, but this shade specifically, Posy Rosy from Made by Mitchell, is a pinky blush, and when I think bridal, I think pink blush. That's just me. It doesn't have to be you. You can experiment with the colors that you want, but I think this is a beautiful, beautiful blush, and it's very pigmented and very long lasting. So creams and then powders, because that is going to give us the most long lasting, flawless, effortless, blended out, beautiful makeup. Now, I like to take what's residually left on my brush from the blush application and kind of hit those edges between my foundation and bronzer, because just lightly, I don't want a whole lot. When I powder this, again, I'm going to lose some of this opacity. So I'm okay with it showing up a little bit. I don't want it to be as intense as my cheeks, but the reason I do this is because, again, you're getting that cohesiveness. You're adding colors back into the skin that you took away when you put on that full coverage foundation. For most people, we'd be at our powder step, but for me, I like to brighten the under eye. This is the JCap Beauty Concealer in Porcelain, I believe. Yes, I want to be very concentrated, very meticulous about where I have this concealer. Keeping that, again, very concentrated exactly where I want that under the eye. And you can even go down the bridge of the nose just a touch to add that brightness back. And it's basically like you spent forever contouring your nose. Before I set all of this, I am just going to blend out my under eye with a sponge. This helps to make sure that I am not creasing, but I'm also picking up any product that might have sunk into those fine lines or wrinkles, and kind of just emphasizes the airbrush look that I'm going for. For the eye, I'm going to use the Huda Beauty Cherry Blossom Powder, and if you guys want a drugstore version of this makeup tutorial or of a bridal makeup tutorial, let me know and I'll get that out for you. But for now, Cherry Blossom underneath the eye, and I'm going to use a different shade for the rest of my face, which I know in some cases can be unrealistic, but again, if you want a drugstore version, let me know. I'm just using this pinky shade in the brighter areas of my face. The shade Peach Pie for the rest of my face. This is just closer to my skin tone shade, and I'm putting the majority of pigment of this powder that has the pigment where I just have foundation, and they're just kind of lightly going over my bronzer and blush because I'll set that with powders if I want, if it's not contrasted enough in a second, because again, we want this long last. Not setting your face with a powder after using cream products and hydrating your skin correctly is like painting over a wall that you just drywalled and spackled and the spackle hasn't dried yet. If your foundation is literally not dry yet, the foundation of what you're doing, and you go in with another product, it's going to roll, it's going to pill, it's going to gunk up, it's going to coagulate and become one product instead of layers of product, which is how you get this long-lasting makeup. So I'm going to use the Made by Mitchell Bronze Pod in the shade Corn Syrup and just kind of tap that on the edges to reinstate that bronzer color and make sure that everything looks super airbrushed. You do not want a setting spray for this step. Setting spray is not for hydration, it's for setting. So this is the NYX Fixing Mist, Prime Set Refresh. They've got the Morphe one, they've got the MAC one, but you do not want to be going in with the one size of the L'Oreal right now because that is going to set everything. You want to rehydrate everything. It melts it all into one cohesive makeup layer on your skin. Lip liner, lipstick, lip gloss. Then you can go in and set, and I'm gonna do the rest of my eyes on the other video. This is the final finished bridal makeup tutorial, front camera, no filter. It's so good. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you want a drugstore one.